Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Mid-Career GPS podcast. I'm your host, John Nerrell. This is the show for mid-career professionals who feel stuck, undervalued, or unsure what's next, and know that doing more isn't the answer. Here, we focus on how you show up. That means how you make clearer decisions, build influence, and take control of your career. Let's get started. Hey there, thanks for spending some time with me today. I've got some kind of frog or tickle in my throat. I'm going to do my best to power through this, but where I want to begin today is by letting you know that I've been taking a look at the episodes I've already done this year and the guests I've had on. And if there's one big theme that stands out for me, it's about how visible you are as a mid-career leader and professional. And so one of the things that you and I both know in this job market is that if you work in a job you enjoy, in an organization you like, and you are invested in staying, it makes sense that you would want to be promoted. So you put yourself out there, you volunteer for projects, you ask to be on special assignments. You're doing everything you can to prove how valuable you are, but more importantly, how invested you are in the organization. So when it comes time for an internal promotion, and against or amidst all of the feedback that you've received, it goes to somebody else. And you've got all the feelings going on. In fact, you might even work for someone who constantly praises your performance and tells you how appreciated and valuable you are, but they never explain to you why you're not advancing. I want to acknowledge that hurts more than not getting the job. It's not knowing why. Because when no one gives you answers, your brain will start making up stories. Oh, mine have made up lots of stories over the years for things because I worried and I wasn't sure what was going on. It wasn't until I learned to show up and have the intentional conversation that I was able to quiet a lot of that internal mind drama. Most of those stories don't help you. So for the purpose of our conversation today, this is about an internal promotion. There's a whole set of roles in a different ballgame when you're an outsider applying to come into a company, and that needs to be another episode, but that's not going to be the focus today. The focus is you work in an organization, you're putting yourself out there, you want to get promoted, and it hasn't happened. Normally, I would say it hasn't happened yet, but yet may not happen. Here's why it hurts so much. Being rejected is painful, but being rejected without an explanation is personal. And as an employee within an organization, you understandably should be given a reason as to why you are not being promoted. More and more, our attention spans and our need for immediate gratification are all held within our smartphone. We crave certainty. We look at a reel and we don't like what it does for us. We just scroll and move on to the next one. And as adults, we can handle bad news. We handle bad news better than we handle ambiguity. Ambiguity creates anxiety. And when information is missing, we start filling in the blanks. And as we start to fill in the blanks, they may not be truth with a capital T. Because here's the inner dialogue that happens. You might be thinking you're not good enough. You might be thinking they don't respect you. You might be thinking you've been lied to. You may be thinking you may never get promoted. The internal dialogue that happens because you've been rejected, you've not been selected, you are understandably disappointed. That lack of information, I have seen time and time again, will create far more damage than the decision itself. What we want from our leadership is to sit us down and say this: we went with another candidate, and here's why. You were not selected for the position. Here are our reasons. This wasn't your time, but if you focus on these things, you may be ready at a different point down the road. We may be expecting too much from our leadership. I often equate this to thinking about how when we're dating, okay? And we meet somebody, we really like them, we may have even fallen in love with them. Then we start expecting them to be perfect. We expect them to show up in certain ways where they're never going to hurt us or disappoint us, but they're human beings. That will happen, albeit unintentionally. We can put that same fantasy, if you will, and project that onto our bosses and leaders. Many leaders avoid these difficult conversations, not because they're malicious, but because they're uncomfortable and they don't know how to have the conversation. They, like most of us, fear conflict. They fear disappointing somebody. They fear emotional reactions. They lack coaching skills in order to have that conversation and guide them through it. The silence, the dismissiveness of it all. Gosh, could you imagine how much these conversations would change? I remember working across several organizations and talking to colleagues who were not selected for a promotion. And they were understandably upset and hurt and disappointed. And yes, it happened to me too. In one case, I had a promotion taken away from me and nobody wanted to tell me why. That was an interesting lunch. I will say that. I've shared the story on the podcast before. I'll share it again in another point. But many leaders were never trained to have these kinds of career conversations. They're trained on how to evaluate your performance. They're not trained on how to discuss potential and growth. So here's what I want you to know, and think about this really strongly for a moment. If your leader is only talking to you about your current job and is never talking to you about your future, your goals, your aspirations, they are only managing your performance. They are not developing your career. I want to add one thing on to that. If you are bringing up things with them about your potential advancement, your future growth, your opportunities, and you're bringing them up and they are not engaging you, they're also not developing your career. They're avoiding the conversation. Something else is going on there. In situations like this, it is understandable for mid-career professionals, but professionals in general, to start feeling resentful. The longer the silence lasts, the easier it is for them to become resentful. Internally, what you may be saying to yourself and what you may also be saying to other people. Why should I keep working hard? Why should I put in extra effort? They don't appreciate me. I keep going above and beyond and I've got nothing to show for it. Someone is always getting the opportunity and it's never me. Feel all of those things. Those are justified. They are understandable. But resentment rarely helps your career. Resentment, when we let it fester and it grows, lowers our visibility, damages our relationships, reduces engagement, and creates moments where we self-sabotage our career. So resentment is expensive. If you're going to be resentful, be prepared to spend a lot of emotional energy because the person who's going to pay the highest price for your resentment is usually yourself. Others will hear that and they'll go, oh, okay. They're bitter, they're angry, they're upset, they're disappointed. The question I want you to be asking is, if you have been turned down for an internal promotion, has your leader actually told you why you weren't promoted? Or are you assuming you know why and you yourself don't want to have the conversation? There are so many great books and models out there about communication and how to be a better communicator. When we're resentful, we often don't show up from a place to truly have an intentional conversation. What I often say and what I coach my clients on is that we have an intentional conversation to move the relationship forward by getting the information we need versus what it is that we want. In a situation like this, what you may want to be told is that you're valued, you're respected, you're appreciated, you're liked. But what you need to hear, these are your gaps, these are your blind spots. This is where you're not performing to an expectation. This is where you're not demonstrating the competencies at the next level. That's the information you need. But you have to be told that. You're not a mind reader. You can't guess those things. And that's why we depend on leadership and we rely on leadership to have that conversation with us. Not getting selected for this promotion doesn't automatically mean you're doing something wrong. It just might mean that someone else has more experience. There may be organizational politics at play. There may be a particular business need that they can fulfill better than you. The problem is when no one tells you the reason, it is understandable to believe that the reason you didn't get promoted is your worth. You're not valued enough. You're not talented enough. When we miss out on an opportunity because we weren't selected for it, the first thing we have to remember is that we put ourselves in position to be selected. That's the first thing. And that's being vulnerable. You're putting your neck out for an opportunity you may or may not get. But if you don't get it, you should know why you weren't selected. Even if it's one piece of feedback that you get to know what it is you need to work on moving forward so you can be an even better candidate, more prepared, more skilled the next time that promotion comes up. So, if this sounds like you, if you're in this situation right now, or you think you might be in this situation in the near future, here's a few things I want to offer you to help you get some clarity around not getting the promotion. The first thing is ask for the conversation. If your leader does not automatically give you the feedback as to why you weren't selected, ask for the conversation. And you might ask for it in this way. I understand I wasn't selected for the position. I respect the decision. I would like to understand what I can learn from this experience and what skills I should focus on to be considered for future opportunities. Can we have that conversation? Again, you're looking for buy-in. You want partnership in them actively developing your career. You want to know why you weren't the selected candidate. And as an internal employee, you should be getting that feedback. Number two, this one's hard. This one's so difficult, but it reaps such great rewards when you do it. Listen, listen without defending. Don't argue. Don't explain. Don't try to re-interview for the job. Simply listen. and to take a page out of Sherry Harley's book, How to Say Anything to Anyone, the first thing you should say is thank you. Acknowledge that it might be hard for them to have this conversation as well. So if they're giving you the feedback and it may be uncomfortable to hear, say thank you. Number 3, what patterns are you noticing? Is this the first time you've applied for a promotion and didn't get it? Or is this a recurring theme? If it's a recurring theme, there's data. The data is what you want to get really, really curious about to see how you may be able to change the data moving forward. Number 4, decide whether or not your leader can actually support your growth. This one's hard. This one's really hard because sometimes the issue is not your readiness. Sometimes it's the environment. It might be the dynamics of your team, the makeup of the team, the organizational politics. Is your leader really the best person who can actively support your growth moving forward? In 2026, it is very different, especially post-pandemic. But given everything we've seen in the job landscape and how things have been happening, our parents, our grandparents, they worked in a different era where organizational loyalty was a thing. Not every organization deserves your loyalty if it refuses to invest in your growth. Remember, at the end of 2 weeks, you're even. You've worked and they've paid you. That's it. There is nothing more that you are entitled to beyond that. So if they're not willing to invest in your growth, why are you staying? I get why you're staying. You got bills, you have a job, you need a job, you got to make payments, you got mouths to feed and roofs over your head and all those kind of things. I get that. But it should make you think. It should make you question how invested you really are if you've put yourself up for a promotion. You didn't get it, and no one bothered to have a conversation with you about it. Are they worth your time, effort, and energy? Is there a path forward for you to grow and develop within that organization? Maybe you're paid really well and you're like, you know what? I'll put up with the crap. It's fine. It's okay. Maybe you're not. Those are the things about building the mid-career GPS. Those are the things about how you show up to have the clarity you need to make these kinds of decisions. I've been there. I have had people on my team who I had to talk to and say, here's why you weren't promoted. Here's why it wasn't the right time. Here's where people had a reservation about moving you into that role. Did I handle all of those conversations well? No, I'm sure I didn't, especially the first time because it's not an easy conversation to have. But as leaders, we have to give our team members the information they need to grow and develop. Even if it means us having to grow and develop ourselves and having those conversations. The silence is deafening. Don't let the silence become your story. Get the clarity. Ask the question. Seek the feedback. Look for the lesson. And remember that the absence of feedback does not mean the absence of value. All that silence means is that someone took an action and chose not to have a conversation with you. Ask for the conversation. Listen. Look for the data. Look for the patterns. Figure out the path moving forward. What's best for you? All right. If you've got a story you want to share, message me on LinkedIn. I'd love to hear it. If this episode helped you in some way, do me a favor, share it with somebody. That would be great. But by all means, my friends, it's an interesting time for sure, but it's not impossible. There are jobs out there. There are promotions to be had. It's just a matter of how strategically you are positioning yourself to show up for them. So remember this, you will build your mid-career GPS 1 mile or 1 step at a time, and how you show up matters. Make it a great rest of your day. If you enjoyed this episode, don't keep it to yourself. Kindly share it with someone who needs it. And if you're tired of feeling stuck, overlooked, or underutilized in your career, go to my website, johnnarrell.com, to get started. There you'll find free resources, ways to work with me, and details about the Show Up Leadership Lab, my signature membership for mid-career professionals who want to lead better, get noticed, and elevate their career. All the links are in the show notes. You can grab what you need right there. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. And if you're getting value from the show, take 30 seconds to leave a rating and review on your favorite podcast platform. Remember, how you show up matters, and I'll see you next time.